and welcome to this special episode of Dear Jane. I'm your host, Scott Baker, and we are joined today by a couple of my friends just fresh back from the March for Life in Washington, D.C. We've got Marcy Little and Sean Robinson, and we were just out in D.C. For the march, and we had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people, get a lot of different insights and opinions. And I just, before we got into those, I wanted to visit with you guys to get your take, what you thought, that sort of thing. Marcy, you've been to the march multiple times, right?
Yeah. This was probably my sixth or seventh March.
Okay. And Sean, was this your first?
Yes, this is my first.
All right. So let's start with you. What were you expecting when you before you got there? What did you think it was going to be like?
Honestly, I expected just a lot of people, coming together, like-mindedness of just the mission of just saving children, saving babies. So I didn't expect any negativity. Although I will say there was a slight thought of possible counter protesters, just because that's the way the news portrays it all the time. Whenever we have an event like this, there's always, the anti people there. So, but other than that, I expected people to come together and, be there to fight for the cause.
What do you expect in terms of age and that kind of thing? Just general demographics of the participants.
I will be honest, I came in this pretty open-minded, so I didn't have too many preconceived notions of the amount of people, the age, anything like that. Although I will say I didn't expect it to be that many people. I've seen shots of it, but the sheer number, especially for the weather conditions, it was amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And Marcy, what's interesting about that is there were a lot of people, right? But numbers were probably down because of the snow.
It felt, it's hard to get a bird's eye view when you're on the ground marching. It felt like a smaller march to me. And like, I don't know if that was because of the weather or for other factors, but I still was impressed by just the sheer magnitude of people who are showing up to march and take that stand for life.
To Sean's point about counter protesters, now this was my second march.
Hmm.
Last year, at my first march, there were counter protesters. You had some midway, some brave souls that were shouting stupid things, and then at the end, didn't see that this time at all, did we?
No, it wasn't too cold for us, but it was too cold for the counter protesters to be there. They don't protest in the snow, I guess.
Yeah, their
The weather's
convictions
got to be
only go
just
so
right for them to
far.
complain.
That's exactly right. So, what did you? I mean, what did you think, Marcy? In terms of, it's always good a good cross section in terms of young people, older people, that sort of thing. I mean, anything that was unique or that stuck out to you about this year's march?
I'm just always struck by the joy of the people there. There's so much energy and I think just joy that characterizes our movement that is encouraging to see because there's so much. It's a heavy, sad, heartbreaking topic, and to see that so many people are motivated by wanting to celebrate and save lives, and that we can do it with so much joy and compassion. I'm also always struck by the diversity of the people there, young, old, different races, all there, even when there's packed snow on the ground. And
Hmm.
I saw a few people slip and fall and get back up and smile. And there's just a dedication and an energy on our side.
Well, and I think the thing that needs to be pointed out is that it's not just the actual march. I heard somebody refer to this as the pro-life Super Bowl because there are so many different things going on around the march, right? I mean, in the days leading up to it, there are just so many people you run into. I mean, it's almost like a family reunion in many ways, but I mean, there are meetings. So some of the interviews that people are going to see were down in the expo of the hotel where a lot of folks stayed. But then, of course, we made our way out to the march. And Sean and Marcy, we just went around and we just asked people if they would talk to us. It's always interesting. To me, the most compelling stories are the ones who have firsthand experience with abortion. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there were a lot of people out there like me and like us who, you know, we have our opinions and strong feelings and that sort of thing. But there'll be a couple of people we'll hear from today who have had very personal experience with that. That is just always very, very compelling when you hear those kinds of stories.
They're the ones who have experienced it and been impacted by it. And I always think they're so courageous to be willing to share their stories in the hopes of influencing and impacting other people and saving lives.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sean, so for the march next year, if somebody's thinking about going, how would you describe it for them? Here's what you can expect from your friend, Sean Robinson.
Let's see. Here's what you could expect going to the march. You could expect a warm embrace from everybody around you. There were so many kind people who were willing to help out, step aside to, because it was snow everywhere, there was mud in some places. People were willing to help, strangers, because we're all there for the same reason. So you could expect a warm embrace going to that march.
All right. Thanks, guys. Now let's hear from some of the folks who are at the March for Life this year in 2024. So have you been in the March for Life before?
Nope, my first time.
What brought you out?
Way back when, a long time ago, in a different life, I was dating a woman that actually had 2 abortions without consulting with me at all, and I've kind of never lost that.
Yeah.
And now, being involved with Julie and Life Matters Training Center has really gotten me thinking about that.
How many times have you been out here for the March for Life?
About 20.
20?
Yep.
How have they changed over the 20 years?
Well, I personally haven't seen a ton of change. Yeah. But I'm not quick to notice change. Okay, and so I would just say that they've gotten a little smaller, which I don't like that at all, because I believe that that all pro-lifers should actually be here. Because here's the thing, this actually fires you up and gets you more passionate. When you go back home, no matter what state you're in, sure, some states say that they don't have abortions anymore. But that is not true, because where you can order abortion pills in the mail, and there's still a heart that is unfortunately pro-death and not pro-life. And that's what we have in America. It's a culture of death. And so we've been talking about it for years, but that's really what we have. So even though, yes, we've ended abortion in some states, there's not an end to abortion. We need to change hearts and minds. And so we pro-lifers, we need to show up here at the march in D.C. and just get together with each other, share ideas. It's the best place. A lot of people say, it's so cold. Okay, but you know what? Babies are dying in cold places, warm places, and it's just up the place to be. Washington, D.C. every year, Friday in January, and that we always have it.
So I'm sorry, have you been here before, or is this your first one?
This is my first time.
First one?
Yeah.
How's it feel to be around so many people that share your values and sort of like-minded?
It feels empowering, definitely, but it's also so important to know the questions that come up and the concerns that come up when it comes to supporting life, and the reasons why people choose to be hesitant, and to know to be able to think about concrete answers that would come up that you would come up with when you come into that situation, and to also see that there's a lot of organizations that are working also on the same part, and so it's not just a helpless situation.
You get much snow in Palau?
Not at all.
So how do you like this weather?
I don't love it.
Okay.
I love babies more.
So what makes you so passionate about the issue that you would come out in weather like this?
Well, the unborn, they are the most vulnerable of all of us, and they are made in the image of God. And so I'm here to keep and help support them.
You've been pro-life your whole life?
Definitely, yes.
So how do you talk to people your age about this issue? I mean, what's a good way for us to reach Generation Z and help them understand the importance of protecting life?
Yeah, I think it's just important to be compassionate, but also to love with truth. The truth is that we are created in the image of God, and that destroying life at any stage is wrong.
It's my first March for Life. I've known about it for a long time, but this is my first time actually being
So what
here.
motivated you to finally come out?
I think that the way that everything is changing in the States is really sad, just to see the way that the abortion movement is going down there. And so I think it's more important now, even though Roe has been overturned, to come to the March for Life and show everyone what it's about.
I have been pro-life as long as I can remember, but when I myself faced an unplanned pregnancy when I was not married, I got that pregnancy test and I freaked. You have no idea the level of terror that you feel when you realize you've got a whole ton of student loans that you have to pay back, you have no prospects, you have no family, you have nothing, and you just found out that you're pregnant. You have no idea the level of terror that is.
I personally think that people who can't speak for themselves should be defended, and if no one else can do it, then I feel like why shouldn't we? Especially for us too, we're Christian, so we very much place a high value on the life of the unborn, like even for younger children, just people who don't have a voice for themselves. We want to represent them.
Just knowing that it's wrong and knowing that people don't care that it's wrong and that they're still doing it anyways.
Yeah.
And that just spreading the message that we are here and we can help.
Right.
So
you're going to get out there today. It's going to be super cold.
Yes,
right?
yes.
What is it you're going to think of? Oh, I got to keep going. This is why I got to do this.
Genuinely, like actually just the babies. Like that sounds so stereotypical, but like it's what we're marching for. And like just the thought of like someone just so innocent and like young, just like not even given an opportunity to live and just being like killed before they get the chance to like experience life, experience what God created for them. Like that just upsets my heart and like makes me so genuinely sad. So like marching for them and like hoping that it'll get through someone's head, even if it's like 10 people. That's 10 people that weren't like pro-life before.
If I had known up front before the abortions happened, I would have done everything I could to change her mind. I have always wanted children, so I should have 3 children instead of 1. And that's something that that's part of me. That's part of who I am now. For every woman that has endured an abortion, there was a man that endured that abortion as well. And that gets lost in the narrative.
I mean, honestly, as far as Christian men, Catholic men go, they really need to be here because trying to convince people who don't know God that they need to be here is a difficult thing. But convincing men that they are a part of human life and proliferating human life and being the protectors and providers that they're called to be, it shouldn't be a hard sale when it comes to men who love God.
It's not a women's issue. For me, it's a moral issue. For me, it's a following our Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But we all know that regardless of what your background is, that the unborn is a human life inside a womb and that we need to band together to make sure that they are protected.
I think showing that it's more than, it's not like a political issue, it's a really moral issue. It's about human life, it's about like dignity and just protecting the most innocent and the unborn. It's not something that's like, this is political, we're gonna go over here and it's about protecting the bodies and women's rights. Like it's not that, it's about protecting life in general.
So did you have any kind of support system at the time?
I did not. I didn't feel like I did. I mean, of course I did. I could have reached out, to a pro-life group. I could have reached out I was actually in church. But my very first thought, even though I had been pro-life for years and years and years and years, when I was in that situation, my very first thought was, should I just get an abortion? And I am ashamed to admit that. The Lord's grace is good that He has forgiven me for that. And so I went to my boyfriend and I said, should I get an abortion? He said, no, we'll get married. Well, praise God. By the grace of God, 25 years married this year.
There you go.
Our daughter is gorgeous and hardworking and beautiful and married and a year later we had a little boy. So we have had it works out, that you can move on from those moments of terror.
I think it's important to see other people who are fighting on your side so you don't feel helpless. I think it's also important to be able to face those questions that come up for that people and to also see different ways you can partner with other people. So I would say, yeah, it's empowering and to just also for you for yourself to be able to have that clarity for yourself and to be able to stand and walk with these people and to be there for them. So I think, yeah, it's important for those reasons.
Well, it's a human being. Life begins at conception. It's a scientific fact. And by definition, abortion is the innocent taking of a human life, so therefore murder. And murder is obviously never okay. That's why it's illegal. And so when our country has decided to just overlook this grave invasion of human rights, it's inconceivable to me that we live in a country that promotes that all men are created equal with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that we still kill the most innocent of us while they're still in the womb.
The younger generation wants the truth. They don't want it watered down. They want it the truth right from God. If they kill the baby, they've killed, not only has the mother been wounded, she gets wounded again because she's killed another life and has that for the rest of her life to live with.
I think just, again, loving with truth. The truth, just to keep telling what the truth is, and that is that abortion at any stage is murder of a baby, and that we value life. We value life at every stage, no matter how small, that you're created in the image of God. And I think that the truth will prevail. Yeah, and I believe the Lord is working.
If it was my body, it would be affecting me personally. I'm not the one dying, though. If I have an abortion, it's not my life being taken, it's someone else's life. And I feel like having the ability to create life within you is such a special right that I feel like we should, cherish.
Yeah, and like she said, like last time I checked, we don't have 2 heartbeats. We don't have like 4 hands and 4 feet. Just because we're carrying it, the baby's body is it's a whole nother body. And so it's just so special that we as women are able to carry that and help produce life. And, they're talking about, hurting our freedoms. I think it's like amazing.
This is where we can link arms and be in solidarity, regardless of what your background is, as long as you believe that the unborn is our most vulnerable and that we must protect and support the women who are faced in that crisis, that they believe they are a crisis.
I just started with a passion that was placed in my heart by God when I was about 28. And once I saw an abortion video called The Eclipse of Reason about second trimester abortions, there was no turning back. And then what also sealed it for me was hearing the Silent No More testimonies from the Supreme Court at the March for Life, the first one I ever went to, hearing about the pain and destruction that not only the baby obviously is destroyed, but the mother and the father, the pain that they go through is so real and raw when you hear those testimonies.
Let it out. Don't be silent. If you have something to say that's worth saying, say it.
Just lean in on unity. Just be together. Together, we have numbers that are unsurmountable compared to the opposition, and we can do this.
I love women and I care about them. But it's loving the women to spread the truth and let her know what she is actually doing.
Well, there's something, everyone can do something. So we, even at our ministry, we have a 1 hour a week where people stand outside with the signs. So I have my 3-year-old does it, my kids do it, and then I give them a hot cocoa after. So, get them started at a young age. Like, that's kind of for all ages. I mean, you could support them with prayer and finances, financial resources. All these organizations need financial help. You could support a missionary that does pro-life work. So there's something, you can have conversations with people, wear pro-life t-shirts or bracelets or just whatever, just be out there and with the message.
My thanks to everyone who took time to stop and talk with us and share their stories. Hopefully you got a sense of the diversity in the crowd. I'm always touched by the stories there. There are so many people at the march who have been touched by abortion, and that's what makes them so passionately pro-life. And that should tell you all you need to know about abortion. Don't forget to subscribe so more people can be made aware of our pro-life podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Scott Baker. Thanks for listening to Dear Jane.